Hello, this is another little video from Pigsy. Hopefully the weather won't stop me recording a video, and it's a bit blowy today, and it's raining. Lovely. Just about an update of experiences. Last night in my dreams, I saw something yesterday. I wrote an email for someone, and something came into my head in relation to this person, so I thought I'd just let them know. And it was to do with an Aborigine medicine man. And he was he wasn't speaking, but and it might have been even in the past, or there was a feeling about it, like it was a different place and time. And basically, he was in a cave and he was pointing to a wall, and it was he was trying to show something, like a person he was pointing to. So I told him about that, I thought, why not? And then later that night I had a dream, and I could see this wavy lizard he's pointing to, and he says, "That's me." So, and I said, and I can identify that's with the crocodile, so it's a crocodile spirit. So he's like suggesting that a type of spirit enters the type of crocodile before it can go up the chain to be human. The other person, it was a type of bird he's pointing to. So it's quite spiritually relevant. Like today I've had some sort of visions had come into me. Basically, I could see the cave, I could see the Aborigine bloke, and he's pointing to a picture of an alien. And it looks like a grey, but the face different. It's like a cross. He's done it there, and it's got some eyes. So basically, within his caves, there's going to be pictures of you could say they're ETs, and I might as well say that. What did I call them before? Extra-dimensional entities. I'm writing my book. I've tried to put classifications, but trying to make it so, because something is, like you say, it's alien. It could be anything. It could be anything that's considered foreign. Like people are called aliens if they don't belong somewhere, or something different about them. Maybe they've been modified in some way. And we could say they're, like transhuman. You could say you're a type of alien. We could create this society where, we're all aliens, but you're a different type of one. And then it just goes on with stereotypes. But so I try to be a bit descriptive. If there's like beings that are low density, high density, beings that would parallel but have the same density, so they might come from parallel worlds. Might be cryptozoology, it could be inner earthers, or as always, a sort of range of things. I'm also sort of doing a little bit of when I'm doing the revision work, I tend to feel that we live in a hollow earth, but I'm at least looking at maybe in some parallel dimension, or possibly even in this dimension, that with this flat earth theory, at least putting it through its motions. To be honest, it's like you'd be on a giant M&M or a minstrel, that kind of rugby ball type shape thing. How other objects move, I'd imagine that the moon was generated from a part of the Earth back in the past. And it's a bit like when you get a lava lamp, you heat it up, and then what happens with the blobs? They separate, and one of the blobs turns perfectly round and floats upwards, while the other one sort of concaves and it goes into a funny shape. So it's almost like the lens of an eye, that kind of thing. So it still has some of its circular surface to it, but the actual structure of the shape is changed. It would need a heat source to warm it up, or energy, so it can reform this bubble. And it only forms that bubble because of its relationship is equal to its external relationship outside of itself. A bit like your physicality shows you who you are, but energy-wise, you're probably just a giant round orb. And then you've got a celestial stem, and you're hitting into the cosmos, like a mobile phone beaming out. So yeah, I mean that's something else. Going to another area there. So it's, that's more the lot of psyops. I can touch upon that. I'm being quite critical about the way things are. People being fragmented in society, being fed stuff. They're just like, here we go. This is the latest information I received from these ETs, unless you have the experience yourself, I just wouldn't trust any source 100%. And the other thing, even if you do have an experience, you still are critical thinking around it. You know, don't suddenly say, well, because I'm spiritual, I forgot what materialism is, and that sort of thing. Otherwise, you just, I mean, what's the point of like divorcing yourself from different phases of evolution or evolvement at a spiritual level if you're just going to dump stuff? I think usually the process for consciousness is that in its first form it becomes more materialistic, and in its second form it was more like religious, so it has a spiritual connecting science between the two, and then it's more into the so it's more like and it's a certain psychic when you go more spiritual, basically that's more psychic realms, because you've conditioned your spiritual self to understand these paradigms and paradoxes. So that kind of creates that situation, basically. Going back to my dreamscape or dream experience, so I mean, just walking around here, I was just because I can walk and meditate at the same time, I can keep my eyes open, basically just see the images, and it's just like when you just drift into a daydream. So he pointed to Beans, head's huge. He seemed a bit frightened by it. I wasn't concerned. I know that if you see something that you're not sure of, greeting it with fear isn't necessarily the best way to deal with it. It's like if you got surprised by an animal, you might take a defensive stance, you might be shocked for that second, but you don't want to be giving off the intentions that you're hostile, otherwise they will go into an attack stance. So back into the dream that I had last night, or the waking part of it, I could see beings, and they would fall under the description of little people, because they're a small pygmy in stature, quite thin. The faces are quite unusual, humanoid to a degree, and then I also saw these type of reptilians, but they had like a brownish skin and different colours. The main difference, I mean, like my face, they're pretty much the same, apart from the nose. It's as if the nose was sort of like sort of connected up to the cheek, and it was almost sort of blended into the face. But they seemed friendly enough. There wasn't anything too bizarre about them, and they seemed like brown sort of faces. I just, in my mind, sort of smiled at them and greeted them, and they smiled back. It was probably the best way to have. I mean, same for any kind of like experience. You might think, wow, it's like a nightmare. But actually, you know, dealing with it correctly is a good way of doing it. If I felt threatened, I would have picked that up and taken a different view, like prepared to defend myself in some way. And also, there's a lot of psyops type stuff, and there's human entities that are messing around with and experimenting on people. There's weird projects with heart. There's all sorts of bizarre, strange stuff that once you start getting interested in it, you realise that it goes really far to hold. You know, here's Alice into Wonderland. Here we go, sort of thing, or Pixie in this sense. So there's a lot there, but I also pick up that when you start to basically media falls as so much entertainment, and 80% of the media, all the media is just entertainment. It's like playing a computer game. You might learn something from it, but the basic outcome is that what you're being fed is what they want you to know, or what they want you to perceive to know. So they might be not even true at all. You know, we could take a group of people. We could basically for a year stick loads of soaps and stuff and put all fluffy stuff on there, and then we could show something from 5 years ago and say we're invading Iraq, or we're doing this, we're doing that, and you could play it, and you could put different times on it. You could basically remix it, and if people think, wow, this is going on, we're really having a war, but in fact there wouldn't be any war at all. They do use old footage anyway in different things. They've had that with like the Russians, and I don't really get the point of kicking up all this fuss. Yeah, so that's a part of this psyop stuff. And with regards to the potential of a Earth that's more concave Earth, that's probably what if you want to look at it. It would mean that there is beyond the North Pole, there's another side of the planet that no one's explored. So it means it's huge. There are some things, just throwing it out there. There are some things that don't add up. Like if spinning creates gravity, then therefore the moon has no gravity in that sense. Especially if it had to wrestle between here and the Earth. So that means anyone lands on the light side of the planet. If they jump, they might just get sucked straight off the planet, or the moon in this case, because it doesn't spin. So how does it generate gravity? You could say it's the mass density, but then it's not a giant magnet. It's a diamagnetic force. So it generates a weak quantum magnetic field. So it's not going to be. It's like you put two rocks together; they don't suddenly connect. You could put two giant boulders next to each other. They might have an attraction to each other, but they're not enough to pull each other across. It's a little more complicated. But there are because basically, so I thought to revise. I thought, well, gravity doesn't fit the model, so what does? Basically, frequency, energy type, which is light frequency, and consciousness, and equal bodies are drawn to each other. Like water finds water and it travels, so it goes to its level. Now, in relation to densities, that relate to the negative ions and the positive ions. Your atmosphere has an electric field that makes it positive, while the ground has a sort of a negative relationship, and therefore things of negative higher values are drawn to it, while more positive go up there. That's why something more in a plasma type state would be further up there, or fire. I mean, it's the way heat works as well, energy, because if it's positive ions reaction, and the negative does that sinking. But then within that is the boundaries that are separated, like I mentioned with water would stick together. Air separates and rises up to meet air. Things like denser elements will sink downwards and then meet. So I think you find further down in the planet we find crystal ores, and I mean this is what you find ores there. You don't find all on the surface. I mean, when there's a massive disruption, the balance is thrown out. A bit like this concave structure is a result of a catastrophe of some kind. Something either whammed into it or knocked something out of it. So, and the flat-faced relationship it has with this planet may be equal to that of the moon. So they're actually two halves of the coin looking at each other. So there may be a rounded back to it, but a flat front. So highly complicated. With regards to that, there's other things about if a ball is spinning, would it generate a perfect equilibrium with if it could generate gravity by spinning, because basically the distance of the equator spinning round would be larger than the North Pole because it's a short distance. So in theory, the distance the outer rim travels, a larger, because it all travels at the same speed, but it's a bit like a small bike wheel and a big bike wheel. The transfer of torque and energy would be different. So basically, if you went to the North Pole, your body weight and everything would change. And if you went to the equator, then you may feel the force more because you're actually between the two the two spheres as they spin. So it's complicated. I don't think we'll ever know the true answers. And because we live in a multi-dimensional universe, you can take anything you want, a bit like an object with all its dimensions. It can be solid as a rock, but if you change the dimensions, it can have a massive empty space in it. That's what you find in all structures. Externally, they generate a dimensional structure, while internally they have a quantum structure inside there. So they have nothing in there, just emptiness. It'd be like living in the Matrix. Like even where I'm sat now, maybe the outside has a shell on it, but maybe the inside is just darkness, emptiness. So I'd be like looking into space. Might be something, different portals in there. Who knows? It's a different universe inside an object to being outside an object. I've touched upon my theory and other things of the planet is in itself a dimension, and the outer skin would be the atmosphere. But beyond the atmosphere into that space, what would happen? Because you're just entering into a sort of you're entering inside another dimension. Dimensions with inside dimensions, like bubbles having particles within inside them. You have the skin that's like that universe, but then you've got whatever's inside it, and the particle generates its own laws and to do with the energy and the quantum field and how it filters things through. I mean, it's in essence, it's all intelligent. There's no point saying this intelligence is limited to humans. Otherwise we wouldn't bother with AI and computers and things like that. We wouldn't be pushing for all this technology to come forward. We wouldn't be messing around with heart. We wouldn't be trying to connect to people's minds. We wouldn't be experimenting with mass consciousness in the public or brainwashing. We wouldn't be doing all these odd things. It's all about power, control, and who leads the way, basically. So on that note, I think it's time for you to lead your way and do something positive today, or put, at least to acknowledge some of the points. Do your own research. You might think it's BS, so what? At least I've put it out there and I've given you something to think about. Anyway, have a good day and goodbye.